Hey guys, this is Chris. Welcome to my channel where we're breaking down international level fights for strategies and tactics that you can use in your own Taekwondo sparring game. Today we're breaking down France against Uruguay in the 2020 US Open Finals, and I have actually not watched this whole fight yet, but I did see a part of the first round and I knew immediately that this would be good for you guys. There's a lot of tactics and strategy we can pull out of this game that you can use in your own match. With that being said, let's get started. Red, as you can see, already has a height advantage, but even without that, even with Red having the height advantage, Blue here is still able to poke, still leading with a cut, not letting Red dictate the pace of the match. The way he set this up, he didn't stand there and cancel. He knows that Uruguay is coming already because he forced Uruguay to the edge of the ring. So Uruguay can either stand there, get cut, and then get pushed back outwards, where Red gets a +1, or what's most likely going to happen, especially at this level, is Uruguay's most likely going to come back in. And having been this far in the tournament, this is the final, it's probably scouted already that Uruguay is going to come in. As you see later, he's very aggressive. Uruguay coming in here is very expected already. And so Red does a great job here, forcing him to the edge of the ring, setting up that trap to set up this defensive punch. So something to notice here also is Red is defending this blitz play. I like calling this after Junsei Obey, the Korean who won, because before him it was like Tamu Jin who kind of had this style of play. This willingness to blitz across the middle to beat the front leg. A lot of times, a lot of taller players had trouble with that, and Red just slides back. And you'll see in these next couple of clips again, Red doesn't really defend in place. He knows Blue wants to get inside. Uruguay wants to set up this inside roundhouse kick, so instead of standing there and trying to counter in place, a lot of times when Blue comes in, he's gonna slide back first, give himself a little bit more distance, and then he tries to counter. I want you guys to notice this. Red here, immediately after moving back, Red's moving forward to try and take some ground. It's because he knows that in order to play this way, in order to play with a slide back front leg or a slide back counter, whatever he's doing, he needs mat space. He needs ring space to do that. And if he keeps sliding back and he never actively takes ground, it's going to be a lot easier for Blue to put him in the corner. And then he knows Red has to either stand there and fight him on the inside, or Red's going to go out of bounds and it's going to give Blue a point. Blue's trying to do what smaller people do, blitz in. Red's doing a great job countering by maintaining the distance first before trying to engage. France has been a long time national team member, been a couple world championships already, and Gonzalez is not as well known. Nice job by Blue. I feel like Blue took this straight out of Junsei Obey's playbook. Junsei likes to blitz, likes to hard close. He'll go in with these kind of deep axe kicks to try and get you to lift to counter. And then when you're on the inside, he goes for this punch. So good job by Uruguay here, setting that up for himself. Very aggressive style. As a smaller player, this is kind of the style you have to play for. If you want to be dictating the pace of the match, you don't want Red to be poking at you. You have to be in their face very, very often. So both sides trying to trap each other with a punch, trying to get that first dodge out and then punch right away. Blue really likes going this reset, which is not a bad idea if you're smaller. Anytime you can take advantage of the taller player not being ready, this time you can use to cross the middle without the threat of getting hit. Notice Red here also actively trying to maintain his spot in the ring. Even though he saw the space behind him, he's going to circle around this way, try and get back in the middle, because like I said before, he needs this space in order to do his defense properly. The slide back defense he was trying to bait Blue in for before. So here, actively getting out of the corner because he knows he needs that mat space to defend. So Red here wising up a little bit. One way to counter the blitz is to go for the head. Blue doing a good job of maintaining distance, and Red goes for a deep headshot here is because he knows Blue generally likes to slide out once to just barely evade. And so if you shoot your head kick a little bit longer than normal, there's sometimes a chance that you'll be able to catch the defending player or the shorter player a little bit unexpected, and that 1, 2, or 3 inches you're able to reach a little bit farther is the difference between point and no point. So this is why Red goes for a deep headshot. Both players right now really trying to feel out, trying to guess whether the person's actually cutting or if they're going to blitz. Both sides have a punch on the same side. Both people have a head kick on their front leg. So kind of a mirror image match, and they're trying to figure out correctly as to what the opponent will do on the next play. Red at the end of the match, they're trying to set up the back leg because if you're punching, usually your hand is up, so your flank is exposed. A good spot for you to kick. For the majority of the first round, Red's been only doing front leg, so this back leg's starting to come out a little bit more as the round progressed. So Blue's trying to front leg double or triple kick. First leg either cancels or clashes or matches the same time the back leg's going. So for an open stance, the back leg kick, this one's lifting at the same time and then trying to get, as this is coming down, he's trying to get the double on there. Extra time for him to score. Blue loses his footing a little bit. Red able to swing his leg up there. For second gum jung for grabbing. And is there a technical? There is a technical. Oh, and it was granted. So they didn't take away the headshot. Sometimes what will happen is if someone's grabbing, they'll grab and then do the headshot. They'll take away the headshot and give a gum jung. But in this case, it doesn't look like that's the case. Maybe they ruled grabbing afterwards. So Blue knows, being as experienced as he is, he knows that he needs to have Red near the edge in order for his blitzes to work. Otherwise, Red will do what I was saying and just slide back. Blue here are like arguing and fighting to keep him in the corner. The blitz, nothing happens after the blitz. Red's trying to get out. Blue's trying to manage to keep him in the middle. Notice how aggressive Blue is being here. And the reason he's being this aggressive, he can't do this while he's in the middle of the ring. If Red's here, Blue can't be this aggressive because Red has the option to move back out of the way as often as he wants. The reason he's doing this is, like I've been drilling home, is he doesn't have that much space anymore. There's only this much space, and so that's only one Hujin, maybe two Hujins that Red can move back. And now that he can't move back, Blue knows that Red has to fight him on the line, so it's a lot easier for Blue to start blitzing and trying to create opportunities to happen here, knowing that Red has to fight him. He's at the edge. Blue goes in for the punch because he knows he's not sliding back. All of his little mini attacks he knows are pretty safe to do because Red isn't going anywhere. Blue's pretty crafty, trying to do a front leg double to get into the clinch, negate the front leg as he's going in. If this is Red, this is Blue. Blue's trying to do the front leg double, so that way if Red does lift to meet him, the double's coming up underneath or after it. So usually after the cancel, they're not expecting anything. So it'd be a clash of the front legs, and since Blue's second leg is coming up with power already, that's an opportunity for him. So that's what Blue's trying to attempt to do here. So the reason there's a lot of attempted headshots is because they're trying to guess, or they're guessing incorrectly is a better way to put it. They're guessing incorrectly, but it's a very probable guess that on the cases when they do go for the headshot, they're expecting the other person to stand there or be there, because a lot of the game has been standing up and canceling, or has been one move back and then trying to fight from there. And that's for both sides. When Red presses, Blue does the same thing. When Blue presses, Red's doing the same thing. So they're attempting the headshots because it's usually either standing there or one slide back, and they're guessing, when I kick this time, he's probably going to stand there. And so as you guys are sparring, something to try and look out for and try and read is when you feel like your opponent's going to stand there, or to blitz in when you kick, that's a good time to go to the face. No inside point? Wow! I thought that Blue was going to try and punch instead, and I think that's why Red went for the back leg, is because he's in the corner. Worst case scenario, there's probably gonna be a blitz in. Red shooting for that little back part because he thinks Blue's hand's gonna come across the top, leaving that bottom side open because he's been punching a lot. Blue's able to read this immediately and comes around for the back kick and scores. What a good play. In my gut, I felt there's a punch coming. Like if I were Red, I would have kicked there also. Blue really good, hit that back kick. If someone's pushing you and you're losing the push fight, so Red gets to here, right? And Blue is obviously losing the push fight here. His body's leaning backwards. His body's leaning back. Red's creating the space he wants to with his arm here. What you're supposed to do is, instead of trying to push back, or you can see his other hand in the back here, this is grabbing the back of the Hogu. That's kind of one way to do it. It's not really grabbing, it's like hooking his arm around and just keeping a tight like bicep curl around the back. Instead of doing that, take your hands that's closest and push upwards on that hand. So it's on your chest. You just take your hand and you shove that hand up so it's off your shoulder. So if it's like, if I'm doing it to myself, someone's pushing here and I'm losing this fight, I'll take this hand and I'll shove it up like that. And then that'll usually shoot past. I can get my shoulder in, and then there's no more chance for a head kick to come out. Yeah, so something for you guys, if you're losing the push fight, just take his hands off you. And then if he can't take his hands off you, it's usually because it's grabbing, and then you pushing up will usually expose that he is grabbing. So something for you guys to take home. What do we know so far? We know Blue likes to punch and he can back kick, which makes it dangerous for you to use your back leg. And Red last points came in through the cuts and the headshot. So if you're Blue, a lot more motions, and make sure that in the clinch game, if you're not kicking, you're closing the door, like you're completely closed. So that's one. And you use that and you motion and you still try and set up more punches, because that's, in my opinion, what's put up the most points on the board. As Red, I would say cut him from range, and if he does come in at you and push at you, try and I would return step more often, meaning you, instead of when you kick, you land like this, you kick and you land backwards. So if Blue is here and you're here, when you kick, return step to get a better base, and then you can start following up from there. I may make a video on that another time about the return step. Boom. Okay, so Blue is obviously off balance. He's only on one leg, and as you'll see in the next 2 seconds, he's been losing this push fight the whole match. So you can see here, his body is backwards. If you feel like you're winning the push fight, but you're not getting there fast enough to create opportunity before the ref gets there, as you're pushing, slide your feet backwards, like almost like a mini Hujin, create yourself a wedge, and then go from that stance. Not able to create the space needed in time before the ref got there, so neutral. Part of the reason Blue scored here is because Red's trying to go too deep. He may be looking for that inside fight, which scored him the initial headshot, but that plays a lot to Blue's game, especially if he's trying to get into clinch, because it's like Red's optimal distance. Then it's blue's optimal distance, and then it's blue's optimal distance, and then it's a push game. And then that's where red wins. And so if I were red, I'm more of a proponent of him trying to poke from the outside, because like he scored, I think 4 to 6 of his points already from pushing from the outside, from the cuts from the outside. Trying to get into clinch actively, I don't think is the greatest idea, because blue has terrific counters. My suggestion would be to cut from the outside and wait till if he blitzes on you, then you're all the way on the inside, and then that's where you can win the push game. Granted, you have to take the risk of maybe he punches you, but as red, I think that's how he should play it, and I think that's kind of because he's trying to be so offensive right now. I feel like that's why blue is able to score these counter shots. So I think red's strategy is cut the first time hard, so if he comes in on it, it scores, and then if he doesn't come in on it, follow up with the front leg to the head. I think is the way France is trying to play this. Nice punch though. Just when I said that red does a light cut and then blue came in on it. Blue's trying to give these last couple plays, blue's trying to give the impression that he's going to blitz, and he's trying to get red to kick at him where he is, so that way it's easier for him to spin or to double or create one of those shots. And he's mixing that in with, obviously sometimes he slides back, sometimes he punches, but I think a lot of what blue's trying to go for here is he's trying to mix up those 3 variables where he's either countering in place, punching, or sliding back, to have red throw a tentative kick, because when red throws a tentative kick, that's an opportune time for blue to have scored. On both of these, it looks like he's setting up for a punch, or at least he's setting up to try and blitz, and he's trying to bait out red's back leg, and fortunately red scores off the trap that blue's trying to set. Oh, oh, so close. So looking back at these last 2 or 3 engages, blue's whole premise is to try and blitz red on the inside, or to get him to kick in place. And so he gives a lot of looks forward, and he's trying to he needs to land that big spin. So switching right there, a good way to try and bait that front leg. Fortunately, it doesn't work. Nice try for blue there. Red's probably there's only 2 seconds left. Nice try though. This switch play right here is really good, because there's usually 2 things that are going to happen at this moment. Either red is going to slide back on the step, which is why he switches forward a little bit to eat some of the distance. He's either going to slide back, or red is going to cut kick in place. The switch here kind of handles both of that. If you see the switch, he switches deep forward. So if red had cut kick, him switching and stepping forward would have blocked that front leg, unless it was to the face, and then the back kick would have hit. Or in this case, it looks like red slid back, and this actually almost caught him. So really good attempt here by blue. Very, very smart play, something you can use near the end of your match, because most people at this time are not going to try and off ball. They're going to try and play safe by cutting and leaning backwards, or they're going to slide back on you. And the switch forward and the spin, I feel like handles both of that pretty well. So good match here by these 2. Unfortunate that, doesn't score, but good job nonetheless. So this, if you guys are looking for this replay, it's on Taekwondo Replays. Overall, great match by these 2.